So thank you very much, Mank, on requesting me to come and deliver a talk on the constitutionalism and constitutional morality. And of course, in recent time, what we have been witnessing for last 2-3 years, that particularly constitutional morality has occupied huge space in academic circle, particularly in academic circle, and it happened due to the, I see, the series of cases which Supreme Court of India had an opportunity to revisit the concept of constitutional morality, and they discussed about that. Before I delve into or deal into this particular constitutional morality, I would like to start with a very important subject, and that also fulfill the broader mandate of the constitutional morality. When if you look into the constitutional morality, it emphasizes on the reverence to the constitution, bowing before the constitution, constitutional principles, constitutional values, constitutional renaissance. So it talks about the large number of issues where court has used in the cases where individuals' liberty, individuals' choice, freedom of speech and expression, and also and religious aspect. We have number of cases where you will see it's more address the rights of the individual, what we have under the Indian Constitution, particularly part 3 of the Indian Constitution and part 4 of the Constitution, a new dimension, and where court has looked into the public morality, court looked into the social morality and the constitutional morality. So we see the conflict between the public morality, social morality, constitutional morality, which will prevail, and court has categorically emphasized, if there is a public morality and constitutional morality. So constitution is a supreme, constitutional morality will provide will prevail upon in all other things. And so when you look into that, is a very important development, and court has taken, I consider, a very bold step. And this is the recent phenomena which we have been seeing in the constitutional morality, and particular that. We stop here and we go back to the constitutionalism for a time being, and then we come back to the constitutional morality again, and we see how the journey of constitutional morality began. We have already identified the areas where we see social morality, public morality and constitutional morality, and we identified and emphasized that court in number of cases, those cases will also try to look into how court has interpreted and what are the important cases which I would like to, which I have identified and which is already available for all of you. We will also discuss something which is equally important, the criticism, the idea of the constitutional morality, how it has been criticized by some of the scholars, some of the legal luminaries. They found it's if we continue to accept the constitutional morality, court will become the another parliament on occasion. That is the way which we will try to see in the little bit later in our discussion. Let me go with the constitutionalism first. So constitutionalism, when we discuss about the constitutionalism, it has become an important issue that relates to good governance. It also imposes on the legitimacy of government action, and it implies something far more important than the idea of legality, that requires official conduct to be in accordance with prefixed legal rules. That is very important. And in broad sense, in general term, if I speak about the constitutionalism, which says that limitation of power, then separation of powers, and responsible and accountable government. Many scholars have identified also, which we see in isolation, which we see in independent. But if I can I can summarize the essential elements of constitutionalism, if I have to say the essential elements of the constitutionalism, and also the demarcation, what in Hindi, in number of cases we have identified as a Lakshman Rekha, ki you have to work, you have to function strictly under your domain. There. So first is the if essential elements of constitutionalism, if we look into that, popular sovereignty is the first. Second, rule of law. Rule of law is another important aspect. Separation of power, independence of judiciary, respect for human rights, and responsible and accountable government, public participation, people's participation, transparency, and believing in the transparency. So if you look into the essential elements, so each plays very important role in strengthening the constitutionalism principles. Each aspect, independence of judiciary, rule of law, separation of power, popular sovereignty, independence of judiciary, each aspect has a great contribution, and that is the reason when we talk about the constitutionalism, in broad sense there is a limitation of the function of the each institution. There is a limit. You have no unlimited power and you work under that particular thing, and that is the reason when we look into all the essential elements that become very important on the constitutionalism. We go from here, we leave the constitutionalism. In just in nutshell, I wanted to cover the constitutionalism, and there are a number of writings which we have on the part of the constitutionalism by the various Indian scholars to student to understand, particularly the distinction between the constitution, the distinction between the constitution and constitutional law, and constitutional law and principle of constitutionalism. A state can have constitution without having constitutionalism. So you can, a government which is authoritarian government has a constitution, but there is no limit power. Entire power has been under his control. So authoritarian form of government has a constitution, but without the constitutionalism. So constitutionalism is very important, particularly in the popular democracy, liberal democracy. The principle of constitutionalism is very fundamental for the good governance, and that we have identified the essential elements of the constitutionalism. We go back to the first part which we started with the constitutional morality. First, the fundamental question, why this subject was not before the Supreme Court, or Supreme Court had no opportunity to discuss about the constitutional morality. I don't want to go into the honorable judges, but the recent development which has taken place, in fact it started from the 2009, and it was on the constitutional morality, become a subject of discourse among the academicians, among the scholars, and among the students also, and a new dimension has been given. It's not this constitutional morality is a new, it's a not like it's a new phenomena, new development which has taken place. As I said in my discussion little bit earlier, that constitutional morality figured much earlier, even in the earlier others like context, other jurisdiction also it figured, and even in time of the drafting of the Indian constitution, the constitution, there's constitutional morality, and Dr. Baba Bhimrao Ambedkar, he responded, he discussed about the constitutional morality. So we see the reference of the constitutional morality in a particular context by the Dr. Bhimrao Ambedkar was there in the initial stage in the drafting of the. So we go back, in what context he spoke about the constitutional morality. So somewhere we see that Dr. B.R. Ambedkar spoke about the constitutional morality. He took the help of the book of the George Grote, who has written a history of Greece from the time of Solon to 403 BC. That book he quoted. So, in the Constituent Assembly, responding to the criticism of the draft constitution on administrative details drawn from the Government of India Act 1935. So they said, is there any need to have administrative detail in there is any justification to have administrative detail under the draft constitution or under the constitution? B.R. Ambedkar, Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, chairman of the drafting committee of the constitution, agreeing that administrative details need not be incorporated in the constitution, need not be incorporated in the constitution. Then he says, justified their need in our constitution by quoting from George Grott's History of Ancient Greece as follows, and that is the point which I would like to read out, and that will help. He said, the diffusion of constitutional morality, not merely among the majority of any community, but throughout the whole, is the indispensable condition of a government at once free and peaceable, since even any powerful and obstinate minority may render the working of a free institution impracticable without being strong enough to conquer ascendancy for themselves. So, if you look to working of the constitution, he said he agreed when somebody in drafting of the administrative, whether it is required to have a detailed administrative provisions under the constitution, and we see he had a vision and he thought about it's necessary, though he agreed. He said, and then he said to working of the constitution particularly throughout the whole, and is indispensable condition of a government at once free and peaceable. So, that is the constitution will become more effective. So, that is why he also supported the constitutional morality principle in the beginning or at the time of drafting of the constitution. But what we have noticed since then, the constitutional morality, as far as my understanding goes, and whatever I have also read, and I believe the other authors also I have looked into, particularly Professor M.P. Singh's writing, Professor Upendra Bakshi and other, the constitutional morality did not figure in the interpretation of the constitutional principles by the courts for many years. And what we have started seeing, the beginning of the 21st century, first time, if we say that, that's first time we see in the Naz decision of the Delhi High Court, the first case where the constitutional morality has been referred, constitutional morality, and their debate about the constitutional morality and public morality, that question was related with the section 377 of the IPC, that that has been held unconstitutional on the section 377. The court in this particular case, in the Naz Foundation case, between the homosexuality between the consenting adults could not on the basis for denying to the right of an individual, and it looked into the public morality and constitutional morality, and it said the constitutional morality. So, court has it's a progress, as I said, it's more an individual rights which we see under the Naz Foundation. The second case which we see the year, so journey began from the 2009 by the Naz Foundation case decided by the Delhi High Court case. Then second important case which we see, the Manoj Narula versus Union of India in 2014. This case was also in the 2014 9 SCC 1, and their court has said the principle of constitutional morality basically means, so what we have discussed, the principle of constitutional morality basically means to bow down to the norms of the constitution. They bow down to the norms of the constitution and not to act in a manner which would become violation of the rule of law or reflective of action in arbitrary manner. So, what is important? What is constitutional principle, constitutional values, constitutional ethos? These are the fundamental. What I can say, liberty, equality, fraternity, these are the very fundamental principles. So, even if individuals choice, if two adults consenting, they want to live, that it has to be respected. Society has to respect. Anyway, if interference or infringement of the enjoyment of that rights, that will also attack on the individual rights. And court has looked into, court has widened and used that public morality, social morality and constitutional morality, and says that the constitution is supreme. And as correctly pointed out by the court in the interest, principle of constitutional, if in one word, it says the principle of constitutional morality basically means to bow down to the norms of the constitution and not to act in a manner which would become violation of the rule of law or reflective of action in arbitrary manner. After that, we see that most important year for the constitutional morality if I consider, and then we have to wait for some time. I'm sure that coming days, coming years, in 1 or 2 years time, we'll have more constitutional morality, where honorable judges of the Supreme Court will definitely further expand the definition, scope of the constitutional morality while interpreting with the individual rights. So we look into the 2018. I consider year 2018 very important, and starting with the 2009 and 2018. In 2018, number of cases, starting with the Government of NCT of Delhi versus Union of India. This is one case. Navtej Singh Johar versus Union of India, and Sabrimala case. That these are the cases where constitutional morality was discussed in the discussed in the detail. And in one of the cases where constitutional bench particularly talked about, which I have said in the Manoj Narula case, that bow down before this. In Navtej Singh Johar case, where court had said, Navtej Singh Johar versus Union of India case, where Chief Justice, then Chief Justice of the Supreme Court of India, he emphasized, you see, that constitutional morality embraces within its sphere several virtues, foremost of them being the espousal of a pluralistic and inclusive society. The concept of constitutional morality urges the organs of the state, including the judiciary, to preserve the heterogeneous nature of the society and to curb any attempt by the majority to assert the rights and freedoms of smaller and minuscule sections of the population. Constitutional morality cannot be martyred at the altar of social morality. So we see constitutional morality. So in this case, Navtej Singh, directly honorable court had said, constitutional morality cannot be martyred at the altar of the social morality, and it is only constitutional morality that can be allowed to permeate into the rule of law. The veil of social morality, it goes further and then say, the veil of social morality cannot be used, the veil of social morality cannot be used to violate fundamental rights, of even a single individual, for the foundation of constitutional morality, rests upon the recognition of diversity that pervades the society. You see, that's so inclusive. This in the Navtej Singh Johar versus Union of India case. So constitutional morality we look into there, and then also in the where the court try to look into the preamble, and in the following words court says, the constitutional morality requires that all the citizens need to have a closer look. Constitutional morality requires that all the citizens need to have a closer look at, understand and imbibe the broad values of the Constitution, which I have said, broad values of the Constitution, which are based on liberty, equality and fraternity. Constitutional morality is thus the guiding spirit to achieve the transformation. What we look into the transformation, if I take you like justice, when we talk about in the preamble, in the transfer, social, economic and political. So transformative constitution, which we started using after the South African constitution, how the aspirations of the people are fulfilled, how the socio-economic rights of the people are fulfilled. So the constitutional morality applies everywhere. And that is the quote where it says transformation, which above all the Constitution seeks to achieve, which above all the Constitution. This acknowledgement carries a necessary implication. The process through which a society matures and imbibes constitutional morality is gradual, perhaps interminably so. Hence, constitutional courts are entrusted with duty. Hence, the constitutional courts are entrusted with the duty to act as external facilitators and to be vigilant safeguard against excesses of state power and democratic concentration of power. So we see that how the court, particularly landmark year, if I consider the 2018, where in series of the cases, in the series of the cases which we have discussed and identified and I have highlighted, we have noticed there. But there is also like another angle we have to see. But if we put together the definition and interpretation by the court in series of cases, it focuses on transformative constitution, it focuses on liberty, equality and fraternity, it focuses even the individual's right, single individual, which has been said, it limits also the arbitrariness of the any agencies of the organs of the state, it puts limit on that particular on the state. So it has a broader ambit, it's not we enter into the debate on the morality. So constitutional morality is like what Justice Deepak Misra has, Honorable Justice Deepak Misra has, we put ourselves before the constitutional like a reverence or respect, and we all have to see. And then he has also put that it's a constitutional court has an obligation. Constitutional court has a duty, which just I read out, duty to act as an external facilitator and to be a vigilant safeguard against excesses of state power and democratic concentration of power. There's an interesting case in the Sabarimala case, which we popularly known as a Sabarimala case, but it's known as Indian Young Lawyers Association versus State of Kerala 2018 case. This is another important case where 4 judges, it's a constitutional bench judgment, and we will not go into detail, but the lady judge who has little bit delivered a dissenting opinion in this particular case, and she question about the religious freedom, or how her court can interfere in the religious aspect or religious practices of the particular denomination or particular community, and she dissented from the majority judgment where the constitutional principle. So that angle is also an important one we have to look into. Now come to the closure part, which is important to understand. What we have, when these principles were constitutional morality, then law minister, he wrote he mentioned one thing. He said, we hear a lot of constitutional morality. He says, we hear a lot of constitutional morality. So 2018, Ravi Shankar Prasad was the then law minister. So he said, we hear a lot of constitutional morality. And he said, we appreciate these innovations. He said, this is innovation. He said, we appreciate these innovations. One respectful submission I would like to make is the nuances of constitutional morality. So the nuances of constitutional morality need to be defined. So the law minister said that nuances of constitutional morality need to be defined with greater clarity. So he said with greater clarity, and it should not differ from, it should not be differ from judge to judge, but there should be a consensus, which he have mentioned. A few weeks later, the interesting part, so when he said, a uniform definition should be there. So it should not be, so there is an interpretation different, but in the nutshell, what we can say, it preserves the constitutional values. So when we talk about it, preserves. So even without using term, I say it preserves, it works for the promotion, protection and respect for the human rights, individual rights, and it also limits on the state's arbitrary power. It attacks on that particular thing. So but he said it may vary. I agree, I believe that, and many of you will agree with me, that it may vary, judge's interpretation, but the target is same, goal is same. So we all are reaching in different ways. So judge interpretation may vary, but the aim is same, goal is same, target is same in there. So honorable judge has said after some day, when the after the honorable law minister has mentioned about the defining the nuances of the constitutional morality, and then honorable judge has said, whether it is a criminal court or civil, when justice is done, is ultimately the principles of morality which are upheld, which are entwined with the law. We do what is right, what we think is right, guided by constitutional morality. Is it that what I feel, what judges feel on that particular, so that is not very important. Each so it means there's no possibility of bringing any from it. It varies from it's a criminal matter or civil matters, and even individual judges. As I said, it's not necessary we have to have or limit constitutional morality. It has plenty of scope. So even in the Constituent Assembly, if I go, it started with whether there is a need for so much detailed under the administrative aspect in the constitution. So that you see, but we see from the administrative aspect where we have moved. We have moved into the constitutional values. We have moved to the individual rights. We moved to the fulfillment of the preambles, what has been justice is been elaborated. We moved to the transformative aspect. So that a detailed interpretation changed in the beginning of the 21st century, started with the 2009. We go to after the subsequent to the law minister query from the Chief Justice of India and then Chief Justice of India, the Attorney General, also it's interesting to note the criticism by the Attorney General expressing concern. He expressed his concern from the use of constitutional morality. So we have to respect the views of everyone. So we have a criticism also. So he has expressed concern from the use of constitutional morality, and he hoped for its death. He said, I hoped it's for death, because otherwise the Supreme Court would become the third chamber of Parliament. That is our Attorney General. So basically unlimited power of the court. Some way it's the concern people have expressed overreaching and judicial overreach. So they have expressed, they have a limitation how far the judiciary can expand, and that danger they have said it's a separation of power. That is that principles they have more in their mind. So we have to take note of the critics also of the constitutional morality. The another very important respected Professor Madhav Menon, he also raised 8 questions on the constitutional morality. He has said there are challenges of the constitutional morality. So the time has come when we talk about the human rights, when we talk about we are living in the 21st century, the thrust is more on the individual rights, and our human rights is a thrust, not only on the constitutional. So if I take you to the Immanuel Kant, which we said, he spoke about the cosmopolitanism. He spoke about that in the cosmopolitanism, and he said under the cosmopolitan law, which is different from the constitutional law, he said under the cosmopolitan law, individual has a right. Individual has a right not because of he is a citizen of the particular country. He has a right because he is citizen of the world. So he said we are living in a particular world, so he has a rights because of the citizen of the world. And I think today we live in the constitutional, we are in the cosmopolitan era. We live in a globalized world. The principles which have been identified by the Honorable Supreme Court of India and High Courts regarding the constitutional morality, it has brought a new dimension, new interpretation of the constitutional principles which were there, and I hope that more occasions we have, more judgments which come on the constitutional morality, where the protection and promotion of human rights is fully realized, and all the aspirations of the people are fulfilled. What I mean, all aspirations mean where people feel his enjoyment, right to life, right to personal liberty, right to adequate standard of living, right to employment, right to social security, and right to health. I hope that this exercise, which recently in 2009 onwards, will go a long way, and constitutional morality principle is an attempt, or is an recognition of a principle which already exists under the Constitution. With the thank you very much.